The business card is a small printed card containing essential contact information and brand elements like a logo and tagline. As part of a brand campaign, a business card is important because it serves as a personal, tangible connection between a company and its audience. A business card helps reinforce brand identity, leaves a lasting impression, and ensures that key contact details are easily accessible. A well-designed business card is a powerful tool for networking and promoting a company's image in a professional, memorable way. In this video, I'm going to show you how to lay out a sleek, professional business card from scratch using some simple yet powerful tools in InDesign. We'll cover setting up your document, adding text, logos, and even add some design flair. So here I am in InDesign, and here is a business card document that we are going to develop in this video. This design is part of a series of branded stationery we'll be creating on this course for a fictional design exhibition event. To create this business card in InDesign, we're going to cover the following key steps. This is a methodical process that will ensure we create quality design in InDesign and not leave anything unchecked. So be sure to check the bookmarks in the video so you can jump ahead or back at any time. After this video, you'll be able to create a business card in Adobe InDesign super easy. So let's get into it. The business card is one of the simplest documents you might create in InDesign, but we'll still use the fundamental principles that are applied to all layout design, which you will soon see. So this is a double-sided business card. As I scroll down, you can see I have multiple business cards with the front and back covers next to each other. When creating a business card, it's very common to create a card for multiple people. And when creating business cards, it's common to have different backgrounds, especially with vibrant brands. For this project, we're going to create a business card for a fictional design expo. The branding for an event like this would be very vibrant. So we will also include different colors and different permutations to reflect the exciting, vibrant brand. This business card template comes as part of the Ultimate InDesign course download folder. This download folder comes with multiple projects and a ton of assets and resources we will be using in this course. If you want to take a look at this document and get access to all the assets to follow along, you can find the link to acquire the folder from the description. With the download folder open, click into folder 4 project, into the Design Expo folder, click into folder 2 Event Publication Design, and open the Event Design InDesign file. This is a document that contains all the publication design we will be creating on this course. If we scroll down to the marketing collateral page, we can see a variety of documents. For this video, we are going to look at the business card. So with the selection tool, I'll click the business card thumbnail. Now I'll either come to the links panel and click Edit Original, or I'll hold Alt on the keyboard and double click on the business card thumbnail and the document will open up in its own tab. Now for this document, I'm using the font Base New. If you have not already downloaded the font for this course, this is a free font that you can acquire online. To get this font, I would recommend you check the course fonts page on the course PDF document. This is a list of all the fonts that are used in this class and where to get them. Simply click on the Base New link and this will take you straight to where you can download it. Simply close this document, install the fonts, open it back up again, and you should be able to follow along just fine. So on the first page, we have some simple text formatting with some light visual elements. On the back, we have a full bleed image with the logo on top, again with some light visual elements. If I press W to toggle between preview and normal mode, you can see the guides, margins that has been used to structure and align the content. In the layers panel, we can see 3 layers, one for type, one for images, and one for base. And if we look in the parent pages, we have 2 parent pages managing repetitive elements. And if we look at the character and paragraph styles panel, we can see we have some styles here. So a simple document, but a few things going on. So let's see how we can create a document like this. So to begin, I'm going to come up to File, New, and create a new document. Now when creating a new document in InDesign, you can choose from a range of presets. But for this business card, it's a bespoke size. So instead of selecting any presets, I'm going to come straight over and type in my own properties. I'll set the units to millimeters, set the width to 85 mils, set the height to 55 mils. I'll make sure the orientation is set to landscape. Now I don't want facing pages, so I'll make sure this is unchecked. I'm going to set the pages to 2. For now, I'll set the margin to 15 mils. I'll click down on my bleed and slug and type in 3 mils. Click Create and my new document will open. So right now we can see I have 2 pages on top of each other. And if we scroll out, we can see that they are quite far apart. Now, when working with slides like this, one quick thing you can keep in mind is to bring your pages closer together. Come up to your preferences, into guides and pasteboards, and in the vertical margin, I can tweak this. I'll set this to 5 mils and click OK, and this will bring the document pages closer together. So as I scroll through the document, I don't have to scroll that much. So looking back at my previous document, we can see that I have these pages next to each other. I've done this because I want to look at just one business card side by side at a glance. When creating business cards, typically you'll make more than one card. So to have them all stacked up on top of each other in single files is not going to be the best experience. So for an easier workflow, I like to put my pages next to each other so I can stack them like this and have as many as I want and just see the front and back very easily. So I'll come over to the Pages panel, I'll click on the top right menu, scroll down, and currently we can see a tick next to Allow Document Pages to Shuffle. I'll click this to remove the tick. Then in the Pages panel, I'll click on my second page and just drag it up and next to my first page. When I see a line next to the page, I'll release and that will snap the page next to it. And you'll see this page immediately next to the page in both the work area and the Pages panel. Next, I'll come into the Tools menu, I'll click the Page tool and just drag it to the right, putting some space between the pages. So now if I press W on the keyboard to toggle on Preview and Normal mode, we can currently see our bleed line around the outside of the canvas on our margin space inside the canvas. Right now, this margin space is looking a bit large, so I'm going to quickly change this. I'll come into the Pages panel, click on the parent page. Up in the menu, I'll click Layout and click on Margins and Columns. When the menu appears, I'll just type in 5 mils for the top, and with the lock icon set in the middle, it should apply to the rest of the parameters. I'll click OK and then double click back on my page in my Pages panel. Once I have my document set up, I can now start thinking about working with visual elements. So the first element I'm going to work with is type. So to make this really easy, come into the Tools menu, click the Type tool and click and drag a type frame to the full size of the margin space. Next, I'll come into the Design Expo Brand Kit content doc. This is a document that has been created to help you follow along with all the tutorials in this course to get hold of all the text. If you want to get hold of the content deck, click the link in the description or click the link in the course PDF. So I'll come to the page for the business card and I'll just select the copy for the first set of details. I'll come into InDesign and just paste them straight into my text frame. Now when working with type in InDesign, you want to be careful. So I'll come up to type, scroll down and click on Show Hidden Characters. Now hidden characters in InDesign are non-printing symbols that represent formatting elements in your text, such as spaces, paragraph breaks, tabs and line breaks. These characters are essential for understanding the structure and flow of your text, but are invisible by default when working in a document. So right now I can see there is a paragraph break at the end of my text. I don't want this, so I'll place my mouse cursor at the end and press delete to get rid of that. This is just going to clean up my texture. Next, I'll come into the Design Expo Brand Toolkit with the download folder will open, click into folder 4 project, into the Design Expo folder, click into folder 1 Media Kit and open the Design Expo Brand Kit InDesign file. This is a brand kit document that includes all the style references we are going to include in our publication design. On the Brand Toolkit at a glance page, we can see that for the type, we will need to use the font Base New. So I'll select all my type, I'll set it to Base New, then click the drop down on the family and select Expanded Medium. I want the text to sit on the bottom margin line. I'll press Escape to deselect the text and come out of that frame. With the selection tool, I'll click the frame, come up to the control panel and over towards the middle, I can click on the Align Bottom button, and this will sit my text on the baseline. So one way to approach text formatting is to start with the smallest formatting and work your way up. So I'll select all the text and set the font size to 6, and now all that text is looking awfully cramped. So I'll also push the leading up a little to give some breathing space, and I'll set this to 10. So now we have defined some properties. I'm going to make a quick paragraph style. I'll jump into my paragraph style panel, click on the top right menu, click New Style. I'll name this Contact Details, click to Apply Style to Selection and click OK. So next I want to focus on the name and job title. And for this, I want to apply a different style. So I'll select the name and the job title text, click on the drop down and set this to Expanded Bold. Set the size to 12, and now this is all looking very tight, so I'll come and set the leading to 13. Next, I want to put some space between the job title and the contact details below. Into the paragraph panel, I'll set the value for space after to 4 mils. Now what you'll notice is that by doing that, not only will we push the space below the job title, but we will also push this space above between the name and the job title. This is because we have a paragraph break at the end of the name. And if we look closely, we can see the paragraph return icon at the end of the first line. So right now, it's treating them both as separate paragraphs and putting the line space in between them both, which is perfectly normal. To rectify this, we can put our mouse cursor at the start of the job description, the word event, press delete to pull it back up to the top line to bring it into one paragraph. This time I'll press Shift Enter, and this will create a forced line break instead of a paragraph break, and that 4mm space after won't apply. If we carefully look at the symbol after that line, it now represents a forced line break and not a paragraph break. So unlike earlier where we had two separate paragraphs with the space between, now we just have one block of paragraph text above. Keep in mind that the forced line break will maintain one paragraph and not two. Hence, why now we only have the space after at the end of the job title, because these two lines above are now creating one block of text as opposed to two. So over in the paragraph styles panel, we will now see a plus icon next to the style we just created. What I need to do now is create a new style. So with the paragraph selected above, I'll come into the paragraph styles panel, click on the menu, hit new style. I'll call this style name and job description. Also, I'll make sure to look at the base on category. For this, I don't want this to base on any other styles, so I'm going to make sure to hit the drop down and select none, click to apply style to selection and click OK. So next I'll come and select the job title, hit the all caps button, click the swap fill and stroke and set the stroke size to 0.25. Now over in the paragraph styles panel, we will now see a plus icon next to the style we just created. What I need to do now is create a new style. Now what we just did there was simply change the formatting of the characters. So in this instance, we will only need to create a character style. So with the job description selected, I'll come into the character styles, create a new style and call this job title, click to apply style to selection, click OK, and now the plus icon will disappear from the paragraph style. Nice. Now I could leave my text like this, but looking back at my final designs, I can see there was some small details I also wanted to include. For example, down on the contact details for the email address, phone number and web address, I used bold letters before them just as a visual guide to state exactly what they are. Now you can do this any way you want. Some people like to use icons, but for this design, I'm going to keep it really minimal and just use letters. So now if I come into the design and click before the email address, I'll just type E, I'll type T before the telephone and W before the web address. Next, I want to get some consistent space between these three items. What I'll do here is just press tab once, and tab again after the next one, and tab again after the third one. This will put some space between those elements. Now depending on your settings, this may vary, but in this instance that space is looking way too large. What I can do here is select all the elements, press Command plus Shift plus T on Mac, or Control plus Shift plus T on PC, and this will bring up a ruler where I can edit the size of my tab space. Here I'll click on the ruler to drop in a left justified tab, and I can click and drag this to toggle the size of my tab space below. So by changing the distance of the tab, we've just edited the paragraph style. And if we look over in the paragraph styles, we can now see a plus next to it. This means that I've overridden the original paragraph style. Now it's not wise to leave it like this, so with the text selected, I'll come and right click on the style and just click redefine. And that will update the style and the plus icon will go away. Next, I'll select the lowercase e, set this to expanded bold and hit the all caps button to create some more contrast between those elements. So again, I've just edited this text in the paragraph style. And if we look over in the paragraph style, we can now see a plus next to it. The solution here is to create a character style. Now this may seem like a small detail, but it's still important to create a character style, which we will be able to edit later on if we so choose. So I'll click to select the letter E, come into the character style panel, create a new character style, I'll call this ident, click to apply style to selection and click OK. And now the plus icon is gone away from the paragraph style. I'll select the letter T and W and apply the new character style, and that completes my initial text formatting. So we started really simple with the basic formatting, and then we built up step by step, applying more formatting to the name and the job title, created space, and then created some paragraph and character styles and addressed some of the smaller details. Now we've got our text formatting sorted, I'm going to start working with some color. So looking back at my final designs, you can see the color approach I took for this business card. Back to the brand media kit, here we can see the brand colors. Now we can copy and paste these into our new document, but to make it even easier, you can import the color swatch. So back to our document, come up to the top of the swatches panel, click the menu, and come down and click on Load Swatches. Upon click, you will see a window appear, and here we can navigate to the download folder. With the download folder open, click into folder 4 project, into the Design Expo folder, click into folder 1 Media Kit, into the Assets folder, into folder 5 Color, and click to open the Design Expo palette document. Upon click, we will now see the colors present in our swatches panel in a folder. Nice. So now I can select the text elements and change the color. But now we've created some styles, it'll be easier to do it this way. We won't have to select any type elements, and you can make sure you're on top of all your elements. So I'll make sure I have nothing selected, come into the paragraph style panel, click on the paragraph style for name, change the color to midnight. I'll click on the preview button and we'll see the text change in the business card. I'll come into the paragraph styles panel, double click on the contact detail style, come down to the character color and change the color to midnight. I'll click on the style for job title, down to character color. I'll make sure to click the color for stroke and change it to Ultravio. And just like that, we have applied some color and we now know that everything is neat and tidy with our styles. So now we've got the formatting sorted, I'm going to start working with some images. So looking back at my final designs, regarding imagery, we can see we have a number of elements here. On the back cover, we have a full bleed image with the logo set in the middle with some subtle texture around. And on the front side, we have more texture and a logo in the top left. Back into my document, let's start with the back cover. So before we bring in our visual elements, we are going to do some housekeeping. Over in the layers panel, I'll double click on my layer 1 and rename this to type. I'll hit the plus icon at the bottom of the layers panel to create a new layer. I'll name this images. I'll be sure to drag this to the bottom so my text layer is on the top. For now, I'll hit the lock icon on my text layer so I can now focus on working with images. And again, I'll hit the plus icon to create a new layer and I'll name this base and I'll make sure this one is set to the bottom. I'll come into my tools menu, grab the rectangle frame tool, and with the base layer selected, I'll click and drag from the top left bleed line down to the bottom right bleed line on the second page. I'll press Command plus D on Mac or Control plus D on PC to place in an image. I'll navigate into the download folder, into folder 4 project, into the Design Expo folder, click into folder 1 Media Kit, click into the Assets folder, into folder 3 Graphic Textures, into the Gradient folder, and I'll click to open the blue PSD. Upon placing, the image may appear large in the frame. Here I can press Escape to deselect the image inside the frame, click to select the frame, right click, come down to Fitting and select Fill Frame Proportionally. And that will reduce the image size inside the frame to fit the image to the width of the frame. Now this is quite a luminous image. If it's looking pretty dull on your end, come up to Edit, down to Transparency Blend Space and click on RGB. And if it's looking a bit pixelated, come up to View, down to Display Performance and click on High Quality. Next, I want to bring in the logo. So this time with the image layer selected, I'll press Command plus D on Mac or Control plus D on PC again to place in an image. Navigate to the download folder, into folder 4 project, into the Design Expo folder, into folder 1 Media Kit, into the Assets folder, into folder 1 Logo and click to open the Design Expo logo document. This time, click and drag to draw the size of the box in which I want the image to appear. For now, I'll just click and drag like so to get into my document, and I want to place this image dead center. Now, a cheeky little tip you can do here to make it easy to get your horizontal and vertical guides, double click into the parent page, quickly draw a rectangle frame spanning the entire size of the canvas area. This will allow me to click on the bounding box and drag a guide from the top down over my handles on the box. I'll press Command plus R on Mac or Control plus R on PC to bring up our rulers. This will allow me to click on the bounding box and drag a guide from the top down over my handles on the box and from the side over the middle. And this will be a really quick way of getting my center point. So I'll delete the rectangle frame and click back on my page in the Pages panel, and I'll see my guides on every page showing my horizontal and vertical line. So I'll select my logo, align the bounding box to my new guides across the horizontal and vertical lines. I'll place the cursor over the right middle point and while holding Alt plus Shift, I'll click and drag in or out and scale the logo from the center like so. Now looking back at the final designs, we can also see we have some subtle texture here. For this, I'll jump back into my brand toolkit, and in the texture section, I can see I already have this here ready to go. If I copy this and paste it into my document on the images layer, I'll just scale and position like so. Now these are just individual vector squares that I've composed in a pattern like this previously. What I'm doing here is just pasting in some vector shapes as a pattern, and that completes that side of the business card. Lastly, I'll bring in an image element for the front side. Again, I'll jump back into the brand pack, which contains the logo and other texture elements. I'll grab the logo mark, paste it into my document on the images layer, place it up in the top left and scale it. Back into the brand pack, I'll grab another texture, this time the dots. I'll just paste them into my document on the images layer and align to the horizontal guides and place over on the right like so. So that completes the layout of one initial business card. Now, the true power of InDesign allows us to create and manage multiple content in one document. The branding for this design expo is vibrant and requires permutations. What I'll do to finish off this tutorial is show you how you can duplicate a layer and make modifications easily. So once you're happy with one layout, it's very easy to duplicate. But what we want to keep in mind initially is how are we going to manage the repetitive elements. Before we start duplicating pages, we first need to manage our repetitive elements. And to do this, we're going to use parent pages. So right now in the Pages panel, if we look at the top, we have just one parent page with the prefix A, which is currently applied to each page below. So now I'm going to come up, right click on my first parent page and click duplicate. Upon click, this is going to open the new parent page, and we can see that this has been set with a prefix of B. For now, I'm just going to click back on a page in the Pages panel to come back, then right click on the right page, click on Apply Parent to Pages, and from the drop down, I'll select B. So now I have my left page with my parent page A applied, and the right page with my parent page B applied. Next, I'll come to my left page and select the image elements. With them both selected, I'll press Command plus X on Mac or Control plus X on PC to cut. I'll come up and double click on parent page A. I'll paste the visual elements on the images layer and position them correctly. And if I double click on page 1 in the Pages panel, we can see that the images are now back. Nice. So next, I'll select the base image on the next page. I'll press Command plus X on Mac or Control plus X on PC to cut. Double click on parent B. I'll paste this on the base layer and position correctly. Double click on the page in the Pages panel. Next, I'll select all the image elements on that page. Press Command plus X on Mac or Control plus X on PC to cut. Double click into parent B. I'll paste the visual elements on the images layer and position them correctly. And if I double click on a page in the Pages panel, we will be back to our composition. And now all my repetitive elements are on parent pages on the correct layers. Excellent. So with my visual elements organized, I'll come into the Pages panel, click on the first page, press and hold Shift and select the second page, right click and duplicate spread. I'll come back to the content deck, select the name for the second card. Back into InDesign, I can select the name and paste it in. Same for the job title, and likewise with the contact details for the web address and the telephone number, and boom, we have another card set up. So I'll do this once again into the Pages panel. I'll click on the third page, press and hold Shift and click on page 4, right click and duplicate, come into the content deck and add the name and the job title, email address and phone number for the third individual. And just like that, we have 3 business cards. Easy. But right now, each business card has the same colored back to it. Next, I just want to change the last 2 to create some variety. So I'll come into the back cover on the second business card, but right now I can't select the image because the image is set to a parent page. Now, instead of complicating this and creating a different parent page, what I can do here is press and hold Command plus Shift on Mac or Control plus Shift on PC and simply click the background image. This will override the parent page settings and make this an editable frame. With the direct selection tool, I'll click the image, press Command plus D on Mac or Control plus D on PC, into the download folder, click into folder 4, project, into the Design Expo folder, into folder 1, Media Kit, into the Assets folder, into folder 3, Graphic Textures, into the Gradient folder, and this time click to open the green PSD. And we can replace the image with a different gradient color. Now, what if, for example, you created all this work and wanted to make changes to the type formatting? We've just created 3 documents, so it can be time consuming to change them all individually, and this could lead to errors. Well, worry not, because we have just set up paragraph and character styles, so making any changes is going to be easy. For example, if I now come and click on the paragraph style for the name, if I come and change the font size, with the preview checked on, we will see the font size change across all cards, and likewise with any color changes or font changes. Next, if I want to change the space around the job title, if I click into the job title paragraph style, click on indent and spacing, we can adjust the space after and the space before, and that will apply to all the cards. And because we've pasted vector textures from the brand kit, this will allow us to easily select them. If I press and hold Command plus Shift on Mac or Control plus Shift on PC and click the texture, this will override the parent page settings and make them editable. Here I can change the fill color in the Tools menu to a different color from the swatches panel easily. So before we close off the tutorial, there is one last thing that is quite important to keep in mind, and that is style management. In this video, we have created various styles for various text formatting. If we look in the character and paragraph styles panel right now, we see that we have a number of styles building up here. Now we could just leave it as it is and move on, but if we want to be really organized, we can manage these styles. Earlier in the course, when we focused on paragraph and character styles, we talked about organizing our styles into folders. This can just make the whole process and workflow of using InDesign and styles easier. Also, when we come to build more documents later in future, it'll be good to have our styles organized, so we can refer back to them or even use them in other documents. So I'll come to the bottom of the paragraph panel, click to add a new folder, I'll call this headers and titles, and I'll place the job title style into that folder. I'll create another new folder, call this paragraph, I'll move the contact details style into that, and make sure the headers and titles folder is at the top. Again, into the character styles panel, I'll create two folders, call one headers and titles and one details. I'll drag the job title in the headers and titles folder, the ident style into the details folder, and now we're creating a hierarchy of our styles. So once you're happy with your design and you want to export ready for print, you can either export the entire document or you can export individual cards. For this example, I just want to export the first card. So when you're ready to export, simply come up to File and click on Export, or press Command plus E on Mac or Control plus E on PC. I'll navigate to my project folder I saved previously in the course, click into the Publish folder, select the PDFs folder, I'll name the file Max Stevenson Business Card, and down in the format I'll choose Adobe PDF for print. I'll click Save and up will pop another menu. Here I'm going to make sure that for Adobe PDF preset, high quality is selected. For pages, I'll select range and type 1-2. I'll make sure pages is selected. I'll make sure that view PDF after saving is checked. I'll click over to the left and click marks and bleeds and click only on crop marks. For bleed, I'll set this to use document bleed settings and then click export. InDesign will do its thing and up will pop Acrobat Reader. I'll zoom out a little and click on the pages tab. And here we can see we have a PDF document with 2 pages, front and back. Around the outside, we can also see the trim marks, and this is where the printer will trim the card after printing to ensure a clean cut with no white edges. So back into InDesign, I'll press Command E on Mac or Control E on PC. I'll navigate back to the project folder, into the Publish folder, select the PDF folder. This time I'll name it Lena Voss Business Card. I'll choose Adobe PDF Print. I'll click Save. For pages, I'll select range and type 3-4. I'll make sure pages is selected. I'll come over to the left and click on margins and bleeds and click only on crop marks. For bleed, I'll set this to use document bleed and click export. And here is another card from the same document. Both of these cards are now good to send off to the printer. Perfect. So that's how you can create a business card design in Adobe InDesign and incorporate styles to make it very flexible to customize and create multiple permutations. What you will come to learn about using InDesign is that it can take a little bit of time to set up your document initially, but once you have one sorted, creating other versions is a piece of cake. Now, if you want to save yourself some time and use these templates, don't forget you can get them in the course download folder. This folder comes with multiple projects and a ton of assets and resources we will be using in this course. You can find the link to acquire the folder from the description. In the next video, we're going to move on to the next challenge and look at how we can create a letterhead in InDesign. So see you in the next video.